Hello, my friends. Hello, my family. We are live once again. I have my amazing friend and the co-host. This is the Outsider's View. I hope you guys enjoy the show. We got a lot of great topics that we are going to talk about. You guys see the headline. You guys see the headline. So our government is in the psyop that been going on regarding the Ukraine Russia conflict has made people lose their goddamn mind. Our empire lost its goddamn mind. So we're gonna talk about uh, Biden sending $40 billion to Ukraine. Meanwhile, American people get nothing, and they decouple that with the COVID relief. It literally, like Caitlin Johnstone said, it's the most American thing ever. So we're gonna talk about that. I'm also gonna discuss Nancy Pelosi's insane rant because I think it's very revealing about the Democratic Party as well. So stay tuned for those stories. But before we get into that, I want to introduce my amazing, my beautiful co-host, Josana. How you doing, my friend?
Hi, Nick. How are you today? I'm so happy to be here as usual. We have a lot to talk about because I feel like the more things are on our faces, the more we need to talk about them so we can see properly through them, right? This is an option. And I want to introduce our conversation tonight with a story about the MOVE movement. And I want to thank my dear Conrad Phony. I don't know if he's here yet or if he will watch it, but like he was the one like, yo, look at that. And then he connected me with, I'm gonna read his name so I can get it properly. Uh Now I have like a logging to do. He connected me with the person that wrote, yes, that wrote the the article about that broke out this story. It's about the MOV movement bombing that happened 36 years ago. They had a house, right? And it was a black liberation movement. And this house was bombed. The police said that they were allegedly being shot by people inside that house. And this was 1985. They flew a helicopter over the house and they war bombed the helicopter. They destroyed the whole block.
Wow.
11 people died, including 5 children. So now it was discovered by Abdul Ali Mohammed that the Penn Museum, this museum in Philadelphia, has not only the remains of the 2 children dead in this state murder, but they also had from other Morton cranial collection. So they have to yet to give back the remains. But I like the analysis that Abdu makes here in the Philadelphia Inquirer. That like how I want to read his words because it's I even put him the comments so I can read it. Like it's like there is a director of the Penn's Institute of Contemporary Art that says that when she worked at Penn, remains of a MOVE bombing victim being housed at the museum was like an open secret. So everybody knew that they were holding the remains of 2 children that died in this bombing, and troubled some staff. And Ariel Julia Brown, the former public programs developer in the then public programs department at Penn, worked as a cultural plan consultant for Penn and Slavery Project. So they were like, they were studying Black people's remains, and they were and they are still holding them from the family. The child in question is Delicia Africa. She's the daughter of the leaders of the organization, and they were incarcerated by the time that the museum was going back and forth with the remains of Delicia. So is now a question of like how, and then like Abdu is being sued by the museum because he broke the story, because the
They
museum
suing
is
them?
saying that they, what?
They suing them for
Yeah, yeah,
even
yeah.
telling the story?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So like the this employee Ariel Julia Brown, she said it reflects that Black people are still dispossessed of their own material future after death, after wrongful death, after violent death at the hands of white supremacy. The reason why I'm bringing this story is because it's more and more clear to us what is the USA about, right? This is a Nazi institution, and I'm gonna call a dog because that's what I always do. I call them names so they know I know. And who was the person doing experiments with live people? Mengele. And the USA is doing the same with Black people. This is a thing that happened 35 years ago. This mother is being kept away from the remains of her daughter so she can properly bury her daughter that was 14 years old the time she was killed by, no, 12. Delisha was 12. She was 12 years old by the time that she was killed by the state. And now the Penn Museum is keeping the remains of Delisha. So Abdul started a campaign on social media, and there's a hashtag return Delisha. And I
We
really,
should type
really,
that in the chat. Let's type. You
yeah,
know, do you have it? We should type
yeah,
the hashtag in the chat because I definitely
yeah,
got to read more and check this out because this reminds me of what Israel does to Palestinians. It seems like there's like this constant pattern of empire disrespecting the bodies of the people who they colonized, right? And this has been a long uh standing thing that happened in Black communities. When we were lynched, we didn't even get the honor of burying our dead, right?
yeah.
So I'm gonna share that here soon, but let's get the hashtag in the chat. Anything else you
Yeah,
want to?
isn't the photo of that article that you shared, the when you see the,
Yeah,
I'm gonna just put it here
let's pull it up. Let's pull it up.
because I want to get it properly.
There you go. So this is the hashtag.
Yeah,
Return Delisha, right?
yeah. And the reason why I'm introducing this conversation today is because I really want to have Abdul here with us having that conversation. So yes, yes. Uh, and I really would love to have this conversation in depth because I feel like right now we don't just want one thing, we want everything back. We want the right to exist back. And we want the right to bury our own children and our own family also. So I feel like in this country, white supremacy is in full on display. And we are seeing that with what's going on right now. There is no money for housing, but yet there is like $40 million for a Nazi war. And right, so right now is the time for all of us to ask for everything we want. Why are we not able to have universal health care? But there is $40 million for war. And and I was like, well, nothing better to start than this story because, like,
Yeah,
of
that's
course, we're gonna
good.
do an in-depth research and bring Abidou hopefully to talk to us because can you imagine the pain of this mother for 36 years without knowing where are the remains of her daughter that she already lost when her daughter was only 12 years old, right?
Yeah. So I want to show you guys this. Check this out here because this story reminds me, and I covered this before how Israel treats the body Palestinians, and especially in Palestinian culture and Islam, the way you treat the dead is sacred. And Israel openly used the dead of the Palestinians as bargaining chips. So this is what I immediately thought of: the level of disrespect that these states impose on black, brown people. You see here, Israel has amassed 68 Palestinian bodies as bargaining chips since 2016. Here's another one: how Israel controls Palestinian bodies, both living and the dead. So they even said the act of mourning is a political act that can be criticized. And I cannot emphasize this enough because I hear this from my Palestinian brothers and sisters: the insult that this is on the Palestinians by the Israelis, because how important honoring and giving the proper burial to their dead is to their culture. One more, because this is something that people have been highlighting for quite a while. LA Times, chill, chill.
Hmm.
Outcry over Israeli policy of holding remains of Palestinians. So this is how bad these Zionists, these imperialists, and the Western governments are now. We can't even bury our dead properly. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Josana, any final words on this, and then we can move on to the next topic.
Yes. I just I would like to I would like to challenge the Penn Museum and showing up and talking to us and saying in our faces that they returned, because they haven't. I would also like to have Abdul Ali Muhammad, to be here with us and talk to us about this story, uh, since he's like in depth researching it. But I would want to invite all of us to call the Penn Museum. I want to do a calling action and ask about where are the remains of Delisha. Because when you get to read the article, you're gonna understand that they probably don't even know where is it. It's worse than just they are holding back. It's you know.
Yeah.
So, and I
That,
would love for us to like call the Penn Museum and you know ask them where is Delisha.
we need to put
And I'm
pressure on
putting
these
him.
people. We need to put
Yeah.
pressure on these people. So thank you for putting the spotlight on that, Dosana. Um, I didn't know a ton about the background. I saw this discussed a few times, but it's important to highlight those issues as well. Now, now let's get to the main topic of the day. You guys
Just
see,
put the for Abdul's social media
yeah, that's
over there.
make sure you gotta check him out. That's great reporting on his and actually challenging power there. So now we about to time to explain what the hell our establishment is doing. They are losing their damn mind. You guys see the title of the video. So Biden, they already been sending an insane amount of money to Ukraine, and now they just approved of this even more insane package, and they are only able to pull this off because of the massive propaganda that have no idea who they are even funding. So it is not an exaggeration to say that the United States, Joe Biden, in our country, decided to provide reparations for Nazis in Ukraine before they provide reparations for Black Americans, before they can provide relief for homeowners that and renters who are facing the rising prices of housing, rising prices of food, rising prices of gas, like minimum wage not going up. People need health care, but we are sending all this money to Ukraine to give weapons. And Biden even himself said he wants pocket change for the Ukrainian people as well. So this is who we're funding. I'm glad that Fiorella was one of many who was spotlighting this because I want you guys to know exactly what side we are on, right? So the United States and NATO, after joining with the Soviet Union, and Soviet Union mostly destroying the Nazis, after that they switched sides and they're like, we're going to empower the Nazis, we're going to give them jobs at NATO. And the United States has been trying to destabilize the region to provoke Russia, and this was a CIA operation where they funneled money and they helped coup the government in 2014. And now, whenever you bring this up, you are called a conspiracy theorist, right? Even though this is documented history that they reported. And I bring up this fact all the time. It's funny how whenever you hear the people who apologize for Zelensky and the Ukrainian Nazis, they always say, "Oh, there's not too many Nazis down there. You guys are exaggerating. You guys are misrepresenting the fight." And my response to that is very simple. If the presence of Nazi soldiers in Ukraine was small, if that element of the culture is small, why we can't help but see Nazi and Symbia everywhere. This is what Zelensky. This is a picture that he posted on his, what is that, Instagram? So on Victory Day, you had the West pretty much lamenting the Soviet Union defeating the Nazis, and now you see why. They have this logo on this soldier that Zelensky posted. So I'm not putting a spotlight on like the soldiers who I'm just want to show. This is coming from the Ukrainians. This is coming from Zelensky. This is who he is spotlighting. Look at the insignia on there. I'm gonna show you guys what it is. I'll show you guys what it is. That's a Nazi insignia right there. You see that skull? So isn't it funny how they say, "Oh, there's not too many Nazis down there," but every time they show a Ukrainian soldier, they have some sort of Nazi insignia of some kind, right? So here's all the patches that they have on here. I'm gonna see if I can find the one that explains what this one is. It's like an old school Nazi insignia here. They even bring back old school propaganda against Russians. You see, this is how they portray the Ukrainian people. This is how they portray the Russian people. Because the Azov Battalion, they believe in one nation, one culture, and one language. That's Nazism. And this war started because they was purging ethnic Russians in the Donbass and Kiev regions. So you want to know what side of the United States? Well, obviously they helped provoke this. They've been funneling weapons. They've been CIA operations. There have been massive corruption. Ukraine has been one of the most corrupt countries in the world. Hunter Biden and many United States officials got random fucking oil lobbyist jobs. They were sitting on the board of oil companies, and they had no experience because that was soft corruption. So the United States would do the bidding of Zelensky in the Ukraine and funnel money through NATO. Now, I'm prefacing all this just so we know who we are funding, what side we are on. So I'm sorry, Josiah, I talk too damn much, but I'm going to show you guys this. Because now, this is an article from Caitlin Johnstone that does a really good job summing up what the United States is doing. Caitlin, probably one of my favorite writers, period. She says, this is the most American thing that has ever happened. That's probably the best explanation of what this is. It is the most American thing. So look at this tweet by Frank. President Biden has asked congressional leadership to decouple a Ukraine aid package from the COVID relief money. Because they know if they decouple that, they can get the Ukrainian aid package without even have to give any COVID relief money. So as he says, in an attempt to pass the aid for Ukraine without having to deal with the thorny partisan opposition to the COVID relief funds. So we all know the Republicans and then the rotating villains like Manchin and Sinema. If they had this in one bill, the Ukrainian package, they know it wouldn't pass. So what would someone do if they actually was a friend of the working class? Since you giving aid to Ukraine is so important, if you cared about the working class like Democrats do, you use that as a negotiating chip. Oh, you want to send aid to Ukraine? Let's get COVID money to the American people. The Democrats gave the Republicans an out because they wanted to. The theme of this show and the theme of my work is I want you guys to understand the Democrats and the Republicans, they work in cahoots. Democrats enable Republicans. Not only do they enable Republicans, they double down and make things worse. I got another story after this one. I don't want to get too off track, but Biden is expanding on the border industrial complex more than Trump. They just had a border expo, and before that, Biden announced the new funding for 2023. The Republican parties and Trump wish they can get away with the white supremacy enabling that the Democratic Party has done. And they're now funding Nazis instead of our own people.
But look,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
what is the thought on that? Ukraine lost the war already. Okay?
Yep.
The reason why they are funding desperately every week, there is US dollar going to fund Ukraine. Hi Dave, Ukraine has lost the war. They are not being able to win over Russia. And where are they taking the funds from? Where are the Democrats? I want to say the Democrats because I want people to know that these are not your allies. They are taking the money from COVID relief fund. So are you unemployed right now? Are you not being able to pay your bills right now? Are you in risk to get evicted because you were not being able to pay your rent because you didn't have a job because of the pandemic? The government got the money that comes from your taxes that was supposed to bring relief to yourself as a citizen of the USA, and it's sent overseas to fund a Nazi state.
And to destabilize the global economy as well. So there is no win condition for Ukraine here. And the West is very open that they are using this conflict to drain Russia and weaken Russia. Their objective is not to save Ukrainian people and to deliver a victory for Ukraine. They want Ukraine to be the Afghanistan for Russia, something that drains a ton of their influence. And why do I know this? They are saying this stuff out loud. You guys know this? I told you guys I've been watching a ton of corporate media on this just so I can hear what my opposition is saying. And I watch CNN and MSNBC segments where they're like, yeah, it's a good idea to send weapons to Ukraine because we can weaken the Russian government. And I'm like, what about the Ukrainian people? What about their quality of life? They don't care. And when I say the Ukrainian people, I'm including the Eastern Ukrainians. Because isn't it funny how all the people who say they stand with Ukraine, they don't stand with the ethnic Russians. They inherently agree with the Azov Battalion that Ukraine should be Russian free, despite the fact that 1/3 of the country spoke ethnic Russian or ethnic Russian. So they are saying the quiet part out loud. This is the result of Russiagate, getting people to hate Russia, have a xenophobic feeling towards Russia, so we can justify the purge of any ethnic Russians in Ukraine. But I also don't want to miss the corruption that is behind this. Another reason we are funneling all this money, I don't even think all this money gonna reach Ukrainians. I think this is gonna be funneled through weapon defense contractors. We all know NATO is just a front to sell weapons. And that is what they have been doing ever since the fall of the USSR, because their original mandate was to be a counterbalance to the USSR. So when the USSR fell, they have no mandate. They had nothing to do except be a mechanism that funnels weapons. That is what NATO is. So let's check this out. I'm gonna show you guys how our society is going crazy. This is Joe Biden. They're using the Ukraine Democratic Defense Lend-Lease Act, and they pretty much, this is Joe Biden buying Ukraine. This is them funneling money to all the corrupt gangsters in the Ukraine. Zelensky is a gangster. He stole a ton of Ukrainian money, and now they put it in offshore accounts. Ask a liberal, how did Zelensky get a fortune of over $1 billion? I think it was like 1.3. Shit, I don't remember the exact net worth, but he is worth over $1 billion. And he was a comedian in Ukraine, one of the poorest countries in Europe. It's not like he made it. You guys understand, the most famous comedians that we have in the United States are not worth $1 billion. I don't know who's bigger, Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart, but these are like the biggest commercial comedians in the United States, in the biggest market. They're in LA. They're in the biggest fucking market, but they're not worth $1 billion. But Zelensky somehow gets $1 billion, and liberals don't even question that, he's in the Pandora Papers. He was caught funneling money. This is something that was reported in the corporate media before this PSYOP happened, before this new Cold War operation that the entire media establishment is in on. This is my friend Spinning Venoms. After this next round of 40 billion goes to them, that'll make 53.6 billion since the start of the year, along with their 6 billion military budget, which is, guys, that's actually less than the NYPD police budgets. Defund the police. That's insane. But anyway, we'll have help make Ukraine the number 5 military superpower in the world, right behind Russia. Congrats, we did it.
I think it's important to highlight every time we're talking about all these billions, trillions, millions, because this is money that we didn't, I cannot grasp. I've never seen that amount of money in my entire life. But it's important to highlight, where is this money coming from? It's from our pockets. It's our money. It's taxpayer money. It's taxpayer dollars. This is the money that gets withheld from your paycheck. This is the money you have to pay when you declare your taxes in the beginning of the year, right? This is the 40% of our money that goes to the military. And it's now going to Zelensky, whatever, how we say the name of this man. I don't even want to learn, I think. It's going to his pockets and Biden's pockets and NATO's pockets. And right? And we are here, and then it's important to bring back to here too, because we are here being blackmailed now with Roe versus Wade to vote for Democrats.
I'm gonna tell you guys something. So they boosted this up to 40 billion, and this pisses me off. And I'm shocked. Well, I'm not shocked. It's kind of predictable that people are not in the streets. But can you guys imagine the white outrage, the outrage from mainstream America, if our government just cut a check to black people for like $40 billion? Because white America is strongly against reparations for some reason. A lot of them are. So they are dead silent while we are funneling money to gangsters to fund a proxy war that Russia is not going to lose. It's just all about how much money are we going to waste? How much are we going to destroy the global economy in the process of weakening Russia? Imagine the outrage if black Americans just got a check for fucking $40 billion. You see white people rioting and burning down buildings right now. So why don't you see that when that money go to Ukrainian Nazis? It's almost like they don't care. they all for the money going to Nazi ideas, apparently, right? So that's something I just want to highlight as well, and I want you guys to know what is happening while this is going on. Capitalism is completely falling apart. A part of this aid is 3.4 billion that's going to Ukraine, and that is for food aid. Food aid. While hunger in this country is going up, they're getting billions of dollars to Ukraine for food. They're giving money so they can have pocket change. And while this is happening, there is a nationwide baby formula shortage. You guys see this? This is in the news today. Just another example of capitalism completely failing. Imagine this headline and U.S. reaction to this headline if this headline was in Venezuela or any other socialist country. Imagine if there was a socialist country and they're like, oh my God, they ran out of baby formula there. They would say, this is another reason why socialism doesn't work. But capitalism is proven to fail over and over and over again. There is a 40% drop in baby formula stocking. Diapers is the number one thing that parents steal, because as Republicans right now are trying to create a forced birth program, a lot of Americans can't even afford diapers. Now they won't be able to get formula. Josana, you want to chime in?
No, I just want to feel. I just feel like, because they would have the nerve, right? If that was happening in Venezuela, if that was happening in Cuba, they would have the nerve to say that that's why socialism doesn't work. But then we will have to see that countries like Cuba or Venezuela would be having a shortage of something because of the damn sanctions, the same ones that Biden imposed in Russia, Afghanistan, right? Cuba, like for years. So they impose sanctions, they keep the silent war, and they say that system doesn't work. And in the other hand, we are here, we are here starving. In the richest nation in the world, we are starving.
As y'all see here, there's another tweet here. Biden initially requested 33 billion for Ukraine and 22.5 billion for COVID in an emergency funding bill. Now Biden says he's willing to sign off on 40 billion for Ukraine, zero for COVID. And people pretend that like bipartisan politics is dead. That is not true. Bipartisan politics is as strong as it's ever been. Ask the military industrial complex and the prison industrial complex about the difficulties of getting stuff done in bipartisan politics. They get everything they want. So while this is happening, I can't pull up the whole article because Bloomberg is usually blocked. But you guys can see the headline here: World hunger exploding after a 25% spike, and things are going to get worse as sanctions is preventing a lot of countries from getting the wheat from Russia that they need. And the ruling class is already trying to get prepared for this hunger crisis that is going to start and going to get worse. So, congratulations. All the people who said they're going to vote, they voted for Joe Biden for damage mitigation because it can be a transition period away from fascism. You completely failed. You enabled a party that funds Nazis and abandoned the American people. So, that's that story. Any last thoughts on that, Josana? I have another one. Unless you want, do you have another story? I have another
Well,
one.
what are my thoughts on that? I'm an immigrant. I can't say that out loud. They would deport me. But I also want to say that please read between the lines. Like, we are by default funding the war. We need to go to the streets. We need to stop paying taxes.
The social contract has not been fulfilled. The social contract is providing security and safety. Now, what I consider to be safety is healthcare, housing, right? We're not even getting that. Our social contract was completely abandoned. Um, and I think we need to start acting like it.
I have
And
I have a question to ask you, Nick. Have you ever in the US, in the history of the US, and no, I don't know much about the history of the US. It's just the imperialist country that's like
most people
slaving
don't.
my like
Most people don't.
of course they added history here, right? But have you ever had the citizens, the taxpayer dollars come back to the citizens as services by the state, like as social services, like food, housing, healthcare, education? Have you ever
Not me.
in the
Not me. They had programs before that was gutted, and a lot of these programs, Black Americans was excluded from. Like
Yeah, but the
when,
programs are coming from a private institution funding public, or is it coming from the taxpayer dollar?
well, according to modern monetary theory, our taxes really don't pay for shit. We print our own money. Taxes is used to pretty much prevent inflation. So our government can pay for whatever it wants. We are in a completely unique position where we could have, if we did it right, we could have a utopia here where people have free housing, free education, free healthcare. Everyone can make a thriving wage. Now, there have been a lot of countries that are limited, mostly because they've been victims of imperialism. So they lost their amount of wealth. Their wealth was extracted by the West. Now, if you had a country like Cuba, imagine what Cuba would do with the amount of wealth that we had. So Cuba has the highest, has a higher literacy rate than we do, have a higher life expectancy than we do. They have better education than we do, And that is despite the United States stealing billions from them via the embargo. So imagine if Cuba was as rich as the United States with their planning, what they'd be able to accomplish. We saw what China was able to accomplish despite not having the amount of power and influence as the United States as they pulled. I think the number is like 800 million. They pulled. They literally lifted the most people out of poverty in human history without the wealth of the United States because they had good central planning. We have capitalists who don't give a fuck. Capitalism is all about crashing the economy every 4 to 5 years. Sorry, every 5 to 8 years, capitalism crash, and then capitalism makes more money. They call it disaster capitalism. So Elon Musk became the richest man. He made his fortune while the economy was going under. Wall Street CEOs made millions during the 2008 financial crisis. Our system is built on crashing, and then the people on top will loot the treasury, and then they repeat over and over and over again. So hopefully that answers your question. There's nothing for us. There's nothing but corporate subsidies for the top. The rich get bailed out. White families before got bailed out with land, and they got a lot of great benefit from the New Deal that we was excluded from, which is why Black Americans demand reparations because we helped build this country and we was excluded from a lot of the benefits. So
No, we demand reparations from Europe and the USA because we were kidnapped and tortured and killed, and we still are. You
meanwhile, our
see,
country,
delicious remains are not with her family, and she was assassinated by the state.
I said it before, I said it again. Our country is paying Ukraine reparations. It's before they pay reparations to Black Americans. Now, I want you guys to realize how white America would react if we was cut a $40 billion check. And I think we owe reparations for Black Americans. We owe reparations for Palestinians for funding their apartheid state. We owe reparations to Eastern Ukraine for destabilizing the country and arming Nazi militias that bombed them. I think our empire owes people so much, and I strongly disagree with some people in ADOS who are like, no, only Black Americans deserve it. I think the U.S. empire has a ton to answer for. We deserve everything. The indigenous people deserve everything. Palestinians deserve everything. Every single person who was a victim of this illegal immigration system deserves everything because seeking asylum is legal. That's something that the establishment teamed up with Joe Biden made illegal. Are we clear? So they
Yeah,
are the one breaking the law. Not us. Sorry, Josana, go ahead.
no,
I'm
just
really
to say
interrupting.
like
I'm not talking too much.
I know but we are family here. We're just having a conversation. I can interrupt you. I like to hear you too because I learned. But just want to give a shout out to Conrad Phony that he's in the chat. But like I just feel like for the foundation or whatever black people in America that think that they need just them can get reparations. I would say to like, how about we give the land back to the indigenous people and
Yep,
they
I'm all
decide
for
what we're
that.
gonna do after, where are we gonna go?
Hey guys, if
Because
you
while you talk about a little check in your pocket, I talk about people owning this land that belongs to them and get the fuck out.
you guys know I have no love for the West. I hate the West. I know I don't root for Putin. People always say, "Oh my god, you guys are Putin puppet. You guys are rooting for Russia." No, I don't give a fuck about Russia. I don't give a fuck about Putin. I am rooting against the West. Whenever I see the West has a goal and ambition, I know it's bad. I'm rooting against y'all. I want y'all to lose. That's just how I am. And if I had a button, because we talk about land back, especially to indigenous people, I go further than that. I know this is not possible, but we're just talking fantasy, right? Give me a button. Give me a button where if I press this button, the Senate and our government will be transferred to indigenous people. White people won't no longer be in power. The Senate will be filled with indigenous people. I'll press that button in a heartbeat. I'll press that button in a heartbeat if someone gave me the option. I know this will never happen. This is us talking about our values. If someone gave me the option where I could magically transfer control of our government, like all 50 senators resign, put 50 indigenous people, whether you want to do one-on-one elections have indigenous people run against each other. I don't care how you do it. I'm all that will never happen, but I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So
I like to think it will
go ahead.
happen because otherwise, like, oh my god. Because like, I don't know if you realize, the more we educate ourselves, the more we question them, the more money to fund the police, the more walls they are putting up. Your state is looking at you and telling you, I'm not going to do what you want, and I am going to fund defense against you. And then you have that stupid piece of shit cracker asshole. We're not monetized anymore, so I can curse.
Yeah, yeah, we can do
Saying
whatever.
that, oh, we should not protest in people's houses. Judges are nice.
What is your thoughts on that, Josana? Because I know me and CJ talk about it. I didn't get a chance to have your thoughts on that. Like you see,
Man,
we all
I
know
would
what
say,
Josana come for.
I would say flamethrower is a very good thing to buy and walk around in rich neighborhoods with it, especially in judges' house. Camp in their backyards. Go inside. That house is paid with your money. It's your damn right to be there and protest. And the way that, the condescending way they talk to us, I've been getting irritated when I read what they say, like in social media, when you go and you read what they're saying. It's so condescending. The level of lie and condescending, it's disgusting. You're not talking to a child. And if you talk to a child like that, you should be taken away from that child. You're talking to the people that actually paid for that house to be built. You're talking to the people whose ancestors built that house, probably because it's an old building. We, the people, have all the right to occupy any building that is seen as public, like the House of Representatives, White House, and any building that is paid with taxpayer money, like the house of a freaking judge from the Supreme Court. So to come on Twitter or wherever you want to come and talk that condescending crap is enough reason for all of us to hop in a bus right now and go to their house. My thoughts on that is yes, I want to go with a
So
flamethrower.
they use civility politics to control the workers, but they are not civil to us. So they say the home is a place where we cannot interrupt, but they are quick to use no knock warrants on us, bust down our door. So let's bust down their door. They do it to us. How is this even a discussion? I think most people agree because I wish I could find this tweet from the Washington Post. It one of the biggest ratios I ever seen. Like for real, like there was ratio to death because they pretty much put out op-ed where they said protesting at people's homes, that's a red line. And we like, fuck you. You guys, the United States Congress and government is the most violent institution in human history. In human history. When you look at the death and destruction, the torture programs the CIA did in the global south, the millions that died in the war on terror, a lot of them innocent, right? When you look at how we created a slave state in Libya, we joined hands with NATO and many colonial powers in destabilizing Africa. Bombing Somalia right now, we try and create a regime change in Ethiopia. And I'm just talking about stuff that's happening right now. Jesus Christ, there's no one else that touches us. And and now I think this is a good transition because I want to do this story while you here because I'm gonna talk about immigration and Biden and how Joe Biden is worse than Trump. Is worse. And I'm not saying that because I'm like, I would prefer Trump over Joe Biden. I don't buy into the lesser two evils. So if you ask me which one I prefer, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I let the people decide. I'm not picking. What I mean when I say Biden is worse than Trump, I am saying that everything that Trump accomplished, Biden doubled down and made it worse. You guys think I'm kidding? Despite the change in rhetoric on immigration, they try to make it an easier rhetoric in terms of uh, uh, being less openly racist. But they have the same policy. You guys understand that Joe Biden has been denying entry for asylum seekers, just like Donald Trump. Actually, he expanded Title 42. But not only that, the border industrial complex has grown under Biden in a way we never seen it grew under Donald Trump. It did grow, but the rate now is insane. So check this out. Just the day before, so to give context, actually, this is the most important part. This is the article. This is the article here. And I learned that they have this border security expo, bro, and they've been doing this for like 15 years. This is like, you know how they got like Comic-Con? Like we got a bunch of people who are comic and they got video game version of that too. You have white supremacists that have border security expos. Look at this. They show off your skills. Show off your skills shooting and killing brown people. Look, you see it. Who is he aiming at? Who is his target? Connect with buyers. Because Biden is giving a lot of money to private contractors at the border. More than Trump. And we all know private contractors has less accountability than even the public sector, which the accountability is already low. But the private sector, whenever they are contracted out by the military industrial complex or the border industrial complex, they're able to get away with human rights violations way more efficiently than the public sector do. So apparently they have this. This is a thing, apparently. Comic-Con for white supremacists. So do you guys know? I learned this while I was doing research for the story. No one reported on this. After this Expo, they did this Border Patrol Nazi Expo here. And then the day after this, Joe Biden announced more funding. Now I'm going to pull this up because I slightly went out of order here. So this is where we get to this part. The day before. Jesus Christ. So the day before the Expo. So like Biden was like, all right, we got all these white supremacist enthusiasts. I'm about to make your day, son. So I'm presenting the story this way because I want you guys to know this is not an accident. Like, and not like Democrats like, oops, we fighting the border more. No, they are appealing to these people. They work together in harmony, which is why the Democratic Party is actually able to increase the police more than Republicans. As you guys see here, they were able to increase the funding to DHS and ICE more. They were able to do worse than Republicans and I want to emphasize this, and not because Trump isn't evil, not because the Republican Party is not evil, it's because they literally can't. The Democratic Party, Joe Biden, is better at managing the establishment than they are. So now let me read the numbers here for you guys, especially if you guys are only listening. So for the fiscal budget 2023, they had a proposed $97.3 billion for DHS. That's the agency's largest in its 2-decade history. More than George W. Bush. More than Barack Obama, the deporter-in-chief. Barack Obama was the deporter-in-chief. But Biden is funding more. He's like, Barack Obama, you fucking amateur. You rookie. Donald Trump, those were rookie numbers, man. The custom and border protection part of that, $17.5 billion, would be the most money the agency has ever received. Nearly $1.5 billion more than last year. The immigration and custom enforcement, they get $8.5 billion. Combine those two, you get $26 billion, will be the highest sum ever dedicated to border and immigration enforcement. The highest sum ever. Significantly more than the $20 billion that the Trump administration started out in 2017. Do you guys think that we are just being inflammatory when I say that Biden is worse than Trump? Now you guys see why. It's not because Trump isn't evil. It's just Biden is willing to get more shit done. He's better at this. So Josana, I would love to get your thoughts on this.
Well, it's just like I have a friend, and I'm gonna put his name here in the comments. Y'all should check out his work. He's really great artist. Nazareth. Paulo Nazareth. So Paulo is a visual artist from Brazil, right? We studied together at university, and we have never ever had to pay $1 for it. We don't owe anything because in my country, our taxpayer money goes for education too. So you have free education of quality. So we graduate in the same university, and he was invited to do a show. I think it started like that. He was invited to do a show here, and it was a complication with the visa. Paulo is a black man, and he decided that he was not going to fly here. He was going to walk from Belo Horizonte to here. It took him a year. So he walked to New York, and he keeps on doing this work. This work goes evolving. And we were talking about that because we met on Sunday. We were talking about that. We were like, um I was like, Paulo, because I'm very afraid of the dogs, right? The robot dogs. I hate robots. And there is the robot dogs. And he told me that when he first came, I don't remember how many years ago, he would come through the border, and there were the drones, and people in the border would talk, the children and the adults in the border, they wouldn't understand, and they were like, there are these little things flying and they shoot, just watch out because they're flying around us. So then the drones were created and tested at the border, right? The border, the southern border in the Texas, with the brown, black people, indigenous people that don't speak English. And now I asked him about the dogs, and the damn dogs are there. Now imagine the terrifying vision of a child to go through a tunnel because they need to migrate because of climate change, economy damage that's caused by the USA, right? So you need to run away from your country. And then you have to go through tunnels in the river and everything. These dogs go into the tunnel, stop in front of the person, and they kill them. And you know where the dogs are going now? Ukraine. Yes, the dogs were being tested in the border with the people that don't matter, right? The people that don't matter were the test, the target for the dogs. So now they can be used in Ukraine. So the people that matter, the color is like my shirt, can use the dogs to kill other people that don't matter. So to me, it's clear that they use the border as a test for their weapons, right? Oh, another thing they tested, I forgot the name, there is a historical name, the test that they made in the border. They said it was in the desert, and they exploded a bomb before exploding the bomb in Hiroshima. There was a nuclear bomb that was exploded in the border, in the desert. Many lives were lost. No one talks about that. And then Hiroshima happened. So it's historical to use the people that don't matter at the border to test the weapons that go to war.
They do that to the hood too. They
They do
test
that
it
to the
out.
hood. We just saw the history of the MOVE, the MOVE movement. They flew a helicopter, bombed the place, destroyed the block. But that comes in the newspaper. That, in certain ways, become history. What happens in the border doesn't. It doesn't. If you don't have somebody, I have two people. I have Paulo that goes through the border, and I have my friend that I can't say their name that was a spy volunteer in the border. If you don't have people like that, you don't hear what's going on. And while we are still on that, children are still in cages. Children are still being tortured. Children are still being sexually abused by icy cops in the border. And when I say children, I'm talking about 6 years old. I'm talking about babies. I'm also talking about older children, but let's be graphic so people can understand what's going on. So the weapons of massive destruction are being tested in the border on the people that don't matter. Because the Ukrainian asylum seekers, no one calls them illegal immigrants. I know ton of Ukrainian people that are as illegal as I was before. Called, I was called before that. So the Ukrainians, they have free pass. They don't get arrested. They don't have to see a judge. Because I don't know if people know that. For you to be able to be accepted in the border in the South and Canada as a refugee, you first have to turn yourself in. It depends on your color palette. It depends on your language. Because the Ukrainian refugees are not being told to turn themselves in. They're just passing. Whereas the Haitian immigrants are camping in the Mexican side. They cannot even camp in the American side. They're camping in the Mexican side, awaiting an answer. And do you really think that people want to come here? Are you still in 2022 going to believe in the propaganda that we want to come to this cold ass, ugly piece of shit country?
I want to see
Our
how
country is
funny.
way better. We are coming. I was watching because we did the segment on climate change last week, right? And I was watching a documentary while I was preparing for that, and it says like now in the present moment, 58% of the immigration that happens from Central America is because of climate change. Because Central America is becoming a desert. You
And
cannot
wait,
plant anymore.
yep, and there are a lot of areas in sub-Saharan Africa and in the Middle East that scientists expect will be uninhabitable in the next 10 to 15 years. So all the right wingers who are scared of migrants, there's going to be a massive migration crisis, and I'm talking about to the tunes of billions that's coming soon. And you guys think your little border is going to stop millions of people who are angry knocking at the door of the border because it's your fault that the planet was destroyed? Because we all know the U.S. military, the largest polluter, the top 1%. A lot of them own heavy industry in the West, like in the U.S. and the U.K. The top 1% responsible for 70% of the global emissions. So when you look at sub-Saharan Africa, when you look at the Middle East, when you look at South America, as Josana brought up earlier, it wasn't them who created the climate crisis. So do you think people will be able to kindly explain to them, like, oh well, sorry, the climate crisis happened. I know it's our fault for it happening, but you can't come here. I don't think people are gonna be willing to accept that, and I think things gonna get really crazy here. And I remember Josana, I brought this up because I read this a long time ago. Because you're like, people don't want to come here, the filthy country. You see here, more Mexicans leaving than coming to the U.S. despite right wing fears. It was in 2015. I would love to see up to date numbers, but I've been reading about this for years. How there's actually a net loss in immigration because the American dream has failed. You got a lot of people looking into moving outside this country. Rob Bacone has a great series he's starting all about just leaving America. So there are people that
And
say,
I want to break Leroy's comment because his as the crazy part they say, sorry, I don't want to assume pronounce. The crazy part is we act like we can't end up as refugees with all the wild weather change happening here. That's gonna happen. That's going to happen. Because y'all can think I'm like here with crazy old lady talks and premonitions, but the scientists, and I'm going to bring to for us to interview the people from the Extinction Rebellion here from NYC. The scientists are saying we have three, uno, dos, tres, un, deux, trois, one, two, three, un, dos, tres, tres, 3 years to fix what we broke, which is not going to happen. I mean, it's not looking like it's going to happen. Is it going to happen? There is a war right now. They're funding a war more and more. So it's not going to happen.
you guys
The
already know.
North will have to be the refugee of the South. And then we're going to see.
You guys know my position on this, my radical position, where it's too late to stop the climate crisis. The state, and I remember this is why I would tell people, and this is why I used to say when I used to canvass for Bernie back in the day, where in 2016, like if we got like a climate conscious president in, even then it would have been hard. You guys realize even if Bernie won and they implemented a Green New Deal, even then, or like, bro, we would need direct action. We would have to fucking show up to senators' home so we can get the real package done. And even then, it'll be a nail biter. Then 2020 happened. They're like, all right, it's already too late. Let's mitigate this shit. Now we got full blown neoliberalism that ramped up public drilling, fracking, spanning polluting organizations like the military industrial complex. Now we are straight up too late. And I know that sucks to say, especially now. Like, there's no way there's going to be a change in government policy that will actually matter. So now, as a proletariat, we need to start thinking about climate justice. Climate
Mm.
justice. Because now we already going to have to adjust to what the fuck happened. Now, Chevron, who was caught lying, like, and they admitted it in the 80s, in the 90s, where they purposely lied, and they had scientists that knew that they was making the environment worse, but they lied to the public about it. Politicians lied to the public about it. So since we're all fucked anyway, I'm down for some climate justice, man. These people need their head need to roll, and that's just how it is. So, yep, I love that hashtag. I remember that it was trending when that story broke. Exxon knew, not just all of them knew, all the capitalists knew. So that's the level I'm at right now. So,
I think this person is Brazilian because their name is in Portuguese.
hey, obrigado.
But I also, the thing about, like, they said, I think 6 years ago, that we had to avoid the 3 degrees up. They are saying now that the only hope is if we can. Oi, amigo, amiga, amigui. They are saying now that we need to fight for the 1.5. So that from the 3 degrees up, we already halfway. We halfway. We halfway to the disaster. And I'm not saying that to be alarmist. I hate being that. But what I'm saying is, like, look what we're dealing with. The oligarchs are playing war games, buying Twitter, right? By building dildo machines to go to the moon, right? But us, we are being massacred and being told that we cannot go to the judge's house to protest. We are being massacred and canned into a police state because NYPD, the largest, even this insane budget from Ukraine, right? Today there was an arrest on the G train line. Is the line that I take to go to work. Please don't come and kill me. People people know too much about me. They were the NYPD arrested a worker that sells fruit in the subway. Now, this woman is an immigrant. She's probably, I hope not, but probably a undocumented immigrant. When an undocumented immigrant is arrested, they can be deported, right? It used to be no, because we used to be the sanctuary city, but that was over. That is over because now a cop is the mayor, right? That woman was arrested because she had a license to be a vendor, but she don't have a license for her cart. So why am I bringing this up? I wish I could have the image for you, but it's on Instagram. I don't have Instagram in my computer. Why am I bringing this up? They are arresting a person that has a license to be a vendor, to work, but she don't have a license for her cart. They are looking in any detail, everything they can, to just arrest us. Why? Once in the jail system, you become a slave. It's in your constitution. Y'all's constitution say if the nigga was arrested, enslave them. Right?
The Clintons used slaves in Arkansas. Kamala Harris was a big proponent of prison slave labor, and that's why the Democratic Party expands the police state, because capitalism never existed without slavery. It never will, never did. People think slavery went away. It didn't go away. They just repackaged it. I want you guys to understand that. So we're about an hour in. Josana, any last thoughts? Anything else you want to share? I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like, subscribe, and all that stuff. Please share as well to help us grow. I think we had like 16.6K subscribers now, so we are growing
Oh,
really, really fast. Like almost, not necessarily, but almost 100 subscribers a day. So let's keep that up. The algorithm isn't helping us. It's because you guys are sharing. So let's keep that up. But Josana, with that said, any last words you have? Anything you want to plug, promote as well?
I have things I want to plug, but I have less thoughts.
Yeah, no
I
rush,
would
no rush. Go ahead.
I would like to tell people and make an appeal for people in America. We will be talking on the 22nd about that in Sabbath's channel and the women's panel. I just want to say, don't fall for the Roe versus Wade BS. Don't fall for the cloud chasers on Twitter using that as a form of getting audience for their whatever. We all know that Roe versus Wade will be overturned. I hope I'm using the right term. Um, because the reason why we are going through this right now is that Obama had supermajority and he could have codified it into law, and he didn't for a reason. They didn't codify gay marriage into law for a reason. Is to keep that floating so they can pressure us in voting for them. Because from now on, we're going to wake more and more. With the little time we have, the oligarchs know that way before than us. They're just going to show their faces and their asses more and more. And we're going to get angry. And they will look for any excuse to pressure us into voting for them. I say we disobey because disobedience is revolutionary. And I say we push electoral system reform. Why? Because I believe in electoral politics? No. But because it's by pushing this system with reforms that we will be able to break it before it breaks us. The electoral system in the USA is corrupted and it's null. It tells you every day your vote don't matter. And yet they will pressure you into voting for them. So don't fall for the propaganda that comes in many ways. Always question yourself and stay angry. Stay revolted. Don't vote revolt. That said, I want to plug the Dada Camp. Yes, the action that we are making, us on RBN and Bank Sisters and Quaker Socialists and Joy that was here in the comments and Comrade Phony and so many other wonderful people. Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine, Ahmed. Let me think other people that I don't want to forget. Oh my God, Zainab Day joined us. Is gonna be our social media and social person. Like there are so many great people joining us, joining the group, joining the organization. We are going to camp together, and we are going to camp in rich people's backyards. We are going to be present in their life. And from now on, in your own town, in your own state, go to the rich people's spaces and occupy it. It's yours. You paid for. Okay? And also, I want to show this. I don't know if you can see properly. Ooh. This is here. Just go to imtita.org. Is the website where you can purchase this, and with that you can support Tita, which is a refugee from the Anglophone crisis, and you can learn about the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon in Africa. You can learn about that and understand why is he a refugee, because he was fighting against the system in his own country and now he is a refugee. So please support us. Go to imtita.org and learn about the Anglophone crisis and support us, support Tita. so we can make sure that other refugees can also be supported. And yes, like, subscribe, watch RBN, support us so we can keep talking the talk with you guys and doing the walk, because that's the most important thing. We talk the talk and we also do the walk. Walk the
Yeah,
walk.
Josana is a absolute soldier for this movement. You guys don't know, man. She does a lot of amazing actions. She always planning stuff. She always running ideas across us. So you're not gonna find anyone more passionate than my amazing co-host here. So it's
Oh,
honored to share the space with you. And at a camp, it's gonna that's I'm gonna be there as well. It's gonna be an amazing event. And shit, man, I told you guys I was reporting at the KC Tenants Citywide Union event. You're gonna see RBN on the ground a lot this year. We got a lot of stuff planning where we're not just fucking sitting in our chairs. We want to be a facilitator, not a leader, a facilitator of the
facilitator.
proletariat movement. So please support the channel. Imagine if we can put a spotlight on these issues with 30,000 subscribers. So if anyone watching your show with a friend, that will help us out a lot, even if they're not leftists, because we can motivate and we can pull people to our side. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate all you guys. Like and subscribe.